Let's get into this little thing, eh? So the Kawasaki Vulcan S, here it is. And I don't know if you guys watched my latest video about this bike, but let me just tell you, I was completely wrong about it. I was so freaking wrong because I never gave this bike a chance. Rode it for 4,000 kilometers in 2 years. Just to be fair, I started riding it more and more every day, and now I'm absolutely obsessed. Let's jump on the bike and I'll show you why. Oh, low seat height, so I can easily get on. Just heading to a nice location so I can tell you guys the top 5 things that I love about my Kawasaki Vulcan S. And basically in the last video, ultimately I said that this bike was so boring to ride and therefore I'm going to sell it. But when you make any significant decision like selling a beloved motorcycle, you have to give it a second chance. So I put all my prejudices aside and I jumped on this bike once again just to give it one last go. So what I did was I started riding it every day, but instead of riding it like a granny like I usually do and you know just letting it be a boring old cruiser, I actually took it to some windy roads and gave it some, and I discovered that this motorbike is actually quite fun to ride and I would be stupid in selling it. So let me tell you guys in this video basically the top 5 things that I love about this motorbike and why, if you don't already have one, you should get one, and if you have one, you should keep it and give it a second chance like I did. So without further ado, let's get to it. So here we are, and now that we're here, I can tell you guys about the top 5 things that I love about this motorbike since I gave it a second chance. So the first thing, obviously, the performance. Now, it's a twin cylinder 650cc engine that produces 54 horsepower. And one thing that you'll notice straight away immediately off the bat is that it's got a lot of low to mid-range torque, which gives it a lot of pulling power immediately. Just watch this. I'm in like 4th gear, like let me even downshift a bit. So here you go, I'm cruising at 4,000 RPM, and now watch this, ready? Flick of the wrist, flick of the wrist, and the bike's basically like, vroom, you know what I mean? It's responding immediately. A lot of low to mid-range torque on this one. It's about 45 foot-pounds of torque at 6,000-ish RPM, which is actually pretty amazing for a 650cc motorbike. What I love is they've taken what the Ninja 650 is and kind of morphed it. When they morphed the engine to more suit a cruiser, it's got more low to mid-range torque, and that means you can have a lot more fun on it coming out of corners and stuff. It's actually quite fun. In addition to that, the motorbike has a 6-speed transmission and lets you get up to a top speed of 180 kilometers per hour. And the second thing I love is the handling, man. Like, just look at that. I'm taking these corners like a boss. I'm taking these corners like I'm on a freaking Ninja 650. And come out of the corner and boom, give it some, and it loves it. A steady acceleration in the corner, come out, give it some, and it loves it. See what I mean? You can have a lot of fun on this motorbike, and I was such a fool to think that it was a boring motorbike, because it isn't. The second thing that I love about this bike is the handling. I already told you that. And basically it's got an 18-inch tyre on the front and a 17-inch tyre on the rear. And the reason for this is because they've made it characteristic of a sports bike, which is quite inspired from the Ninja 650, and therefore it drastically improves the handling of this bike just because of the tyre setup there. It's not like your traditional cruisers where they've got a huge wheel on the front and a huge one on the back as well. They've actually balanced it out quite well just so that you can get some great handling out of this thing. It looks like these guys behind me are racing, so I might just let them overtake me if they want. Guys in a Porsche, yeah. Oh, nice. Don't know what kind of Porsche that is. Oh, he just did a wheelie. That's sick. Woo! Anyway, now the third thing I love about this bike is the ergonomics, man. So basically everything's adjustable on this bike. The handlebar, the controls on the handlebars, the foot peg position. And what it does is it allows the rider from 5'6" to about 6'1" or 6'2" to easily adjust everything on this bike. Ergo fit, they call it. The ergonomics on this bike, just amazing. Really a key selling feature. And I love the riding triangle of this bike. It's quite comfortable, not for super long rides. Like, you're not going to expect it to be riding this thing for 2 hours at a time. But I mean, I've been riding this today for a solid like hour straight just to get here, and it's just been really comfortable. I've had no issues. But if you ride it for extremely long, you do notice a bit of wear and tear on your butthole. Well, not your butthole, but your butt gets quite sore. Just from sitting on this seat, because there's not enough padding in it for some reason. But the actual riding triangle when it comes to the seating position is quite comfortable. Your feet are slightly in front, raised handlebars. It's just like sitting on a chair, basically. You got your feet in front of you and your ass backwards. And the fourth thing about this bike I really love is the first thing that attracts you to the bike. Just how you get attracted to a beautiful woman or handsome man, whatever your inclination is there. This motorbike has some great looks, and I know that's subjective, but I'm sure that most people would agree that it's a good looking bike. It just looks like a really relaxed, sleek cruiser that has been merged with a sports bike. Yet, although it's sleek, it's got a quite buff appearance to it. It looks pretty buff and strong and thick. And now the final, fifth thing that I really like about this bike. Oh shit. You guys alright? You didn't crash or anything, did you? You didn't crash or anything, did you? Oh crap. You alright? You're not injured or anything? No. Okay. About half an hour ago. Shit. Do you need a tow? Oh sweet. Alright. No, just have a good one, boys. Ride safe. Alright, see ya. Jesus Christ, poor blokes. And that's why you got to be careful around here in these parts. And so basically the fuel efficiency of this bike, right? I got about 300 kilometer range. If I want to ride conservatively and save fuel, I can get up to about 350 kilometers, I believe, maximum. I really doubt it, but more like 300 kilometers. And that's with a full tank. That's about 50 miles per gallon. And that's also reported on Fuely.com, which is an app where riders and basically car drivers as well can post their fuel stats, how much it costed for fuel and how much average they get per vehicle. So basically this is the Mulholland Drive of Australia, where basically everyone with sports cars and fast bikes comes down from the main city, Sydney, just to hit the corners and, you know, have some fun. And not many cops down here usually, so I guess that's what attracts most people down here, just to get away from the law so that you can break the law, you know what I mean? And in Mulholland Drive, obviously in California, I think that's near LA, obviously it's basically just the same as that place, but obviously not as good. Wow, but it is quite beautiful. And then back to the fuel mileage. So you get some great fuel mileage of this bike, and that's just thanks to this epic twin cylinder 650cc engine. Just the amazing engineering behind it allows a great fuel efficiency. And what I love about the display on this bike is not only do you have a nice big fuel gauge down the bottom that is displayed on an LCD screen, you've also got the fuel range indicator, which I really love. What the f are you doing, kid? It's not even a kid, that was a grown adult. So I'll go back on the freeway, and just to add on to the performance element of this bike. So although it's got great acceleration and a great top speed, I mean, I think you can do 0 to 100 in like 4 to 5 seconds. That's just great. And to add on to the performance element, let's go hit up the highway and just see how it handles on the highway. Freeway. And there we go for the performance aspect. this bike really gets up to speed. And this is actually the restricted version in Australia, so it doesn't have the full 54 horsepower like you would find in America, or the United States as they like to call it. And you know, although it's restricted, it still packs a lot of punch, a lot of pulling power, thanks to that low to mid-range torque. Now that we're on the highway, let's discuss the highway aspect of this performance category. I'm cruising 110 kilometers per hour, which I believe is like 65 miles per hour. And that's as fast as our highways get here, 110. And you know, this bike, thanks to its wide tires on the front and rear, handles really well on the highway, and there's no problem. And if I'm doing a bit of rolling acceleration, I'm now in 6th gear, and as most Kawasaki motorbikes tend to do, when you're cruising in 6th gear at 100 kilometers per hour, it does about 6,000 RPM. This one, on the other hand, does more like 5,000 RPM, because it's more low to mid-range incline. Like we have a hateful term for them, cages, but really they're not cages, they're just scared people, scared of life, you know, just scared, oh, what if you die? How can you ride a motorbike? What if a bird hits you in the face like you just almost did there? You gotta have risks in life to have fun, to enjoy. Oh, fuck, I just got a cramp in my ass. Oh God. Oh. It's the Porsche. It's the same Porsche from the national park. Oh shit. That's hilarious. Wow. Dun diddly do. Dun did. Oh, and the other thing regarding the handling of this bike. So that's also really affected by how you ride this bike. So the seating position. Basically, if you're just going to be cruising, you can kind of just lean back, kind of just hang off the handlebars, be quite comfortable, have that road presence, you know, you look like you're a boss, like you're just cruising, you know, with your legs apart, like just trying to expose your package, to the world. And you've got that like cruiser road presence, you know, you're like, rock on, man, check out my fat package between my legs. But then if you're going to go on the flip side and just use the sports bike type handling on this bike, you close your legs a bit, not exposing your fat package so much, and now you're gripping the petrol tank with your thighs, and while you're doing this, you just kind of lean forward using your core strength to kind of just hold your body forward. You've got your back bent slightly, you've got your arms relaxed, yet completely able to manipulate the counter steering on the handlebars here. And just taking all these into consideration, all these little tips, you can really get down and hard into the corners as though you would on a sports bike. So it's actually quite amazing on this thing. I really love the versatility. You go from cruising on this bike with your fat package hanging out, showing off to God knows who, and I don't know who that would appeal to, but I mean, you know, you're showing off, you feel like you're doing a good job at showing off as well. Not that anyone cares about your fat package, but then you can lean forward and show off with your sports-like riding style and just be like, look at me, I'm a mad MotoGP dude, hitting them corners, you know, while not exposing my fat package. Anyway, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, because there's going to be plenty more Kawasaki Vulcan S 650 videos, because this is one amazing bike, and I'm sorry for preeminently judging it. I'm sorry for judging it too soon. Although I had the bike for 2 years, I didn't ride it much, did I? And by me not riding it much, I judged it too soon. I should have ridden it much more and just seen what it was capable of, because let me tell you, it's capable of a lot. See you on the next one, and peace.